Well, good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
Welcome to the Groveland Council on Aging monthly men's breakfast. I have a little bit of information for you about coming events. The first one that's probably more important to you than any other is that there will be no men's breakfast in November because on November 4th we have Election Day here in Town Hall. On November 11th it's Veterans Day. And that will be observed here at Town Hall. Town Hall will be closed. So we will reconvene in December. So just watch your November newsletter for that bit of information. It'll also be in the December newsletter, but just so you know. Later on today, we have a program at 12:30. It's called Coffee with the Candidates. This afternoon, our candidate is going to be congressional candidate Richard Tissay, and he represents our district. He'll be here to answer questions, to tell you about his point of view, and find out probably more about yours. That's a free program. Come on by, have coffee and a cookie or whatever, and let your friends know. That's today right here at 12:30. Also coming up next on October 21st, it's going to be Medicare 2015. So we'll have the new rates for Medicare supplements for 2015, new deductible amounts for Medicare, new monthly premium amounts for Medicare B. And we'll be able to answer any questions you may have about your health care coverage under Medicare as well as your supplements. So that will be happening at 10 a.m. right here in this room on a Tuesday. The next day, Wednesday, in our outreach office, we have a program on hearing screening for Mass Audiology. Come, it's free. You do need to make an appointment. It'll be the hearing screenings will be available from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. And come, it's a worthwhile opportunity to get your hearing checked. I will be there, as Nisha would say. Then we have 2 senior flu clinics coming up. Anita Wright has given us that information. On Tuesday morning, October 28th, right here in this big room, we will have the flu clinic for folks 60 and over from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Again for seniors 60 and over in here from 3 to 5 p.m. on Thursday, October 30th. So those are free flu clinics provided by the state and administered by our beloved Board of Health nurse, Anita Wright. And so, without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to our fire chief, Bob Lay.
Thank you, Lynn. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Interesting group, because as I sit here and look down the table, I know most everyone here personally. For those of you that I don't know, as Lynn told you, my name is Bob Lay. She asked if she could introduce me as a townie. I'm not sure what that means, other than I've lived here my entire life.
Doesn't mean a thing.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Reeves. So the only interesting part of all of that is my dad was also from town, and yesterday would have been his birthday, and he would have been 88. So for those of you that knew my dad, pretty good guy, and I wish he was here because the fire department meant a lot to my father, as many of you know. In fact, look around the room, look down the road, many of you were on the fire department at one time or another. So when I talked to Lynn about the opportunity to come in and speak to the group, it seemed like Fire Prevention Week, or it's now Fire Prevention Month, was a great opportunity to get in and see some familiar faces. I'm not sure I'm going to teach you anything this morning because, well, let's be honest, you're older than I am, so you probably teach me something by a little bit. So one of the things that we like to talk about during Fire Prevention Week is simply that very subject: fire prevention, fire safety, how to keep out of trouble. And I don't have a canned presentation necessarily. I brought some handouts that I'd be happy to give you pass them out now or upon your departure. But more importantly, I think the best presentations or the best opportunity is to have some dialogue. So I am, I'm available, I'm here, no time like the present. Now answer any questions any of you may have relative to fire prevention, fire safety, the fire department, equipment. Lynn said I should have brought a truck, but I didn't think. Well, number one, I'm not sure I wanted to drive a truck over here by myself, but it can only lead to trouble, if you know what I mean. But anybody have any questions relative to the fire department that they'd like to get some information on? I know you're reading, but.
I would just like to say it's the best bargain in town.
Thank you, Mr. Reed. Yes, it is.
It's the best bargain in town. The people don't realize it.
If,
The best bang for your buck.
I've always specified, if they ask for a new truck, buy them two. Because you want them to get there in a hurry.
well, if you've been following some of the recent meetings, it's interesting you say that. We've actually looked at our current equipment needs, and we've had an opportunity to reduce our truck requests over the next 10 years. Historically, we've operated with what you would know as a 3-engine department, which means we have 3 pumps, 3 main fire trucks. And based on the grant that we received a couple of years ago for a tanker, we have the improvements they made to the water system, added the water tower, extended the water main. We have an opportunity to reduce that equipment by 1 truck. So, and let's be honest, there aren't fires like there was. If you think back to the 70s was that period of time where there were house fires all the time. Through fire prevention, that has really been reduced. In all honesty, we have a couple of house fires a year in this town. Now, it doesn't eliminate the need to be able to provide fire suppression, because when there's a fire, you need to go put it out. But being prepared for that really is about people, is about training, and about the right equipment. So, meeting with the capital folks and with the selectmen, we were able to come off our 10-year capital plan by about $800,000. So, you talk about a good bang for the buck, and then you add, you know, an $80,000 a year savings on top of that. And your return on that investment's a pretty good one.
Well, the same thing goes for personal equipment and gear and stuff like that, you know? People don't realize that we have no paid people on duty all the time, and any money that the department needs should definitely be available.
Well, I appreciate that, and we'll make sure we get you on our committee to ask for things.
Don't get me on the finance board, you wouldn't have a station.
Speaking of the station, I'm glad you brought that up, because I was just talking to Charlie about the plans to take the video setup that you have in this room, which is all brand new, which is all digital, and there's one in the selectman's office, and there's currently a plan to, so you're gonna turn the selectman's office into storage, and the selectmen will meet in here in the future. I don't know if you knew that or not. So we get 2 sets of this equipment. There's a current, we're talking about, say, a current plan, I'm not sure it's totally finalized, but to take the second set of equipment and move it to the fire station, which will create another meeting space, if you will, because the town is kind of short on meeting space. Seems like everybody wants to meet on the same night. So other than the fire department uses the room on Tuesday night, that would free up another place for people to go and meet and have the opportunity to be televised. The reason that I bring that up is everybody's always looking for a chance to help out, and one of the things that the fire department is looking to do is to renovate that space. I say renovate, needs to be painted. Guess what? The maintenance department in the town doesn't have a whole lot of painters on staff, right? There aren't any. So we look around and say, I wonder who would have the right skills to paint a room like this in short order. I'll pass that list around after we don't have to commit.
Have you looked into the prisoners?
You know what, I
They've
have,
done
and
they're easy, haven't they?
I'm not sure I like the term prisoners, but I,
Short timers.
short times, yes. There are three groups that are typically available. One is managed by the Sheriff's Department, which is out of Middleton, and those folks, from what we understand, are doing time, and they use them in communities to go out and do work. There's two other groups. There's the farm in Lawrence, y'all know where that is?
Yeah.
Right, you can see it right off the highway, there's that. They also have a community outreach program. And then there's folks that are on probation and owe time, all right? Community service, and they're available on the weekends. I've been in touch with one of those three groups and was told that we'd be all painted sometime in September. Still waiting for that. Still waiting for him to call me back. So we're gonna move on, and we're gonna try some of the other groups. I would like to get, any group in there that could help us out. The place was last painted, I think, 10 years ago. It's had a fair amount of service since then. It gets used, and that use over time shows up. That's all. Nobody's.
I'm the facilities and grounds manager to VC Park. And we have made use of the guys from the farm.
Okay, in Lawrence?
To the sheriff's department. He actually lives on Uptack Road. I have him on my phone, I can't think of his name. Anyway, I have a good rapport with him. And they'll send like 8 guys up, and all they do is feed them lunch. I mean, we don't even have to do that, but we do because we appreciate what they're doing. And they love coming out, getting out in the fresh air, having a good meal for lunch. And they work very hard. And you don't have to worry about controlling them. Every one of them, everybody's a painter.
Yeah.
They could paint that place in a heartbeat. These guys work. I can't say enough about them. It's been a real positive experience for me. And I've had them maybe 5, 6 times now. Very, very, very good group.
All right, well, that is really good news. So you want to talk after this, and hopefully we can get them up there. We are planning to host a training session that's going to be conducted by the Massachusetts Fire Academy. Let me tell you a little bit about what that is. The academy is in Stowe, Massachusetts, and they also are currently building a second facility in Springfield. For career firefighters, you take the week off, you go to training, it's not necessarily a big deal. For the call and volunteer men, it's a little bit of a challenge to get into the academy to get training because you have to do it all on the weekend. But unless your boss is nice enough to give you time off, then go take some other training. So what I've been able to do is coordinate with the Mass Fire Academy to become a host town to conduct a firefighter 1-2 certification program here in Groveland. Now, to become a certified firefighter, they just reduced the need, but it was 340 hours. It's been cut down to 240 hours, but it's a blended program, so there's a lot of online training. So what that means for Groveland is, for anybody currently on the department that's looking to get certified, and that's like, national, a national accreditation to be a firefighter. It's a big deal for us. So that program will run in Groveland from January through June on Tuesday night, Thursday night, Saturdays, and some Sundays. So if you think about that kind of a commitment for someone that is on a volunteer fire department, which really we're not, it's a call fire department. And we pay them in for their time, but we don't necessarily pay them for this training, because we're not budgeted for that. You can imagine if I hope to send 6 people through that class, 6 times, 240 times the average pay of, $15 or $17. It's not in my budget. They will do this, for the most part, on their own, and it's a significant commitment all winter long, going out Tuesday night, Thursday night, Saturday. Saturday kind of kills you skiing if you're into that. Or you're snowmobiling, but you can do that at night, so. Yes,
Bob, can you go through the system? When you get an alarm, what happens? Where does it ring? Does it ring in the homes of the people? How do you get them into the station?
okay, good question. There's two things that happen. There's two types of calls. There's fire calls, and then there's medical calls. All of those calls through the 911 system go into the same place. They go into police dispatch. Once in dispatch, and we have enhanced 911 in this community, so the dispatcher knows who's calling, okay? They have your address. So there's two things that happen. If it's a medical call, they ask the nature of the emergency. Once understood, and there's a very quick screening to decide who needs to be sent, okay? So what we do in this town is we use Trinity, Trinity, the ambulance service out of Haverhill. So if you call 911 on a medical call, they transfer the call in an instant, and it goes into Chelmsford, I believe. In Chelmsford, they have an entire operation of where they do emergency medical dispatch. Those folks are trained to ask you a series of questions, happens very quick, and then they determine the right level of response. Now, I say the right level, there's a couple of things that happen. There's basic life support and there's advanced life support. So whether you get an EMT or a paramedic, okay, because Trinity provides both, and then whether or not you need fire EMS. So for any life-threatening or any serious injury or illness, fire is always dispatched. So in this community, you have police and fire that are all trained at first responder level. Quite honestly, I have a number of people that are EMTs, and I have a few that are paramedic. So that's luxury to have. We don't operate at the paramedic level, but we have some paramedics who happen to work in the field somewhere else. So the call is handled over here, switched over. Once they determine what it is, and the dispatcher, after they transfer it to Chelmsford, they stay on the line and they listen. As soon as they understand what the dispatch will be, we're notified. So very simply, the communication system, it's all, as you can imagine, somewhat automated, computerized. And they activate a tone system that opens our radios. Every firefighter around the department has a radio like this, okay? It doesn't say or do anything unless there's a call. So it's quiet. When there's a call, it beeps like it just did here. That was a test at 10 minutes to 9. They all have the ability to communicate with this radio, so it's not just a pager, okay? They don't just hear the message, they could actually, if you can imagine, call comes in for your neighbor, good example, and you're home, and you think it makes sense for you to go straight there, because you think you can offer some assistance before the others arrive, you could actually call right back and say, you know, I'm gonna go there directly, and you could call and you can give an update from the scene very quickly. So the communication system we have is very good, works very well.
So the police get it as well as the fire department.
Two separate channels, but that dispatcher will call, if it's medical, they typically call us first, and then they notify the police, because the police are out in the community, and they typically are there before we are. So they typically call us first, the ambulance is dispatched simultaneously, and on a good day, we all arrive at pretty much the same time.
Yeah.
But, you know, the contract that we have with Trinity doesn't have an ambulance staffed in town. It basically has them, they'll come to this town. So they try to maintain the right level of equipment in the field at all times. Some days we wait 10, 12, 14 minutes to get an ambulance in town. Yes?
Now, on the 911, now, if you call 911 on your cell phone, you don't get that same response, you get the delay from the state police.
Goes to the state police, correct.
Car accident, same thing?
If you're calling from your cell, yes.
Yeah, it's company cell, so that's curious, if you see a car accident in the road, the movement through is different, right? You think of your cell phone.
Yes. Yeah, so the communication system is really a tricky one relative to cell phones. It's pretty good for the most part, but every now and then you discover that the call went somewhere else, okay? Went to the wrong, or the wrong community was dispatched.
How do the guys get to the station? What alerts them?
This alerts them, okay? So once typically what we do is you will hear something that says, Groveland Fire Radio, stand by for a medical call. So what that does, before they even get the call, most guys will stop what they're doing, grab their keys, start moving. Then they hear the call, they hear what it is, come straight to the station. Everybody is directed to report to the station, because then we need to organize quickly, okay, and take the right apparatus. So everybody goes to the station, board the truck. We are typically on scene, I'll give you an example for a medical call, with 4 or 5 people inside of 5 or 6 minutes. And that's pretty good. That is actually better than the NFPA requirement. So in a city, you actually have more time to be on scene than that. So we do a pretty good job. It's nice. You got a lot of guys that live close.
I know firsthand, I've used 911, I had to use 911, and they were there, it seemed like in 2 minutes. The response time was quick, right? It's about 3 times now, you know, other family members or whatever that was around town. When I really needed them, they were there.
Bob, may I offer a suggestion?
Certainly.
We also have Code Red for folks with cell phones who might want to register those cell phones and your name and address and blah, blah, blah with the Groveland Police Department. That's a useful tool for folks with cell phones.
What does that accomplish?
That allows them to know, in case of an emergency, A, how to reach you. It's like the reverse 911, so
Yeah.
that Code Red folks can contact you in the event of an emergency, you know, coming hurricane, as small as mosquito spraying. You know, that type of thing. Should the police choose to use that. But it allows them to reach you, and they will know who you are based on the phone number that you provide.
I see.
It's in today's school.
And as big as hydrant flushing.
Like the
You
call we
know.
got
Most
last,
of-
like
yeah.
the call we got last night.
Yes, yes, and I get those, it's funny, the phone rings, my wife will say, I don't know who that is, and then my cell phone will start ringing, I said, I know exactly who it is. We're both getting the same call at the same time. The system's very good, but it's a nice way to be notified when the town decides to send a message community-wide.
Bob, I have a question.
Sure.
What do you think are some of the most important ways the folks at this table, as well as our folks 16 over in town, what are some important ways that they can be safe in their homes? What do you find, what causes fires in homes? How can people be more
Thank you,
careful?
and you can tell she probably read the brochure and fed me to the top line on the brochure. Very nice. The number 1 hazard for the senior community relative to fires is cooking,
Yeah, I can believe that.
okay?
And I say make reservations.
Yeah, make reservations, that's right. Or go down to
Don't
the.
make food. Don't
Let's
make
eat out.
food. Make reservations, right.
It's easy to get distracted today. And let's face it, as we age, it's even easier to get distracted or forget perhaps what we're doing. We did have a fire. Well, I won't give you the details. We had a cooking fire this year in town, and it was a Saturday, so everybody's around. That was a good story for us. Saturday, midday, elderly woman. I say elderly, older than most of you in the room. I think she was 92, and she was preparing to cook dinner. This was probably 11 o'clock in the morning, and did what many of you might do: put a frying pan on the range, put some oil or grease in it, and was getting ready to brown a piece of meat, I believe, and walked away and forgot about it for a couple of minutes, which is all it really takes. So came back into the kitchen and saw the fire in a pan on the stove. So what would most of you do in that situation?
Put a cover on it.
Put a cover on it. How many say put a cover on it?
Probably what I would do.
Yeah, have a cover
How many
where they,
would grab the fire extinguisher mounted on the wall right there?
You don't want water on that, you want a cover on it, you don't want water.
You want the cover on it, you don't want water on it. That's the correct answer. So this woman had a small fire extinguisher mounted on her wall in the kitchen. Never got touched. Do you know why? She didn't know it was there.
Oh, boy.
Okay? Probably had been there 20 or 30 years, right? So what she opted to do was pick up the pan and throw it in the sink. Okay? Once in the sink, what do you think the options are?
Water.
Water. Water's bad. Never got to the water, because what happened next was it caught the curtain on fire. Okay? So here it is, pan in the sink, now the curtain's going. Guess what's next to the sink always? A combustible, a roll of paper towels. Okay? So now you get the roll of paper towels and the curtain both going. Guess what goes next? The blind that's hanging in the window, right? All of this is in under 3 minutes. So you have a small fire on a range, they could have put a cover on it and said, no big deal. Anybody looking, no one saw what happened. To which we show up. And the fire was out when we got there, okay? Because they managed, you know, another husband comes in from the other room, it's like, what are you doing? You know, kitchen's on fire, and they threw some water on it. Because now the grease is gone, so the grease
Yeah,
fire
now the
has
water will
it.
take
Now
it.
it's just a good old fashioned little bit of cabinet burning and some paper towels, and they put it out. When we got there, the entire home was, you know, full of smoke. I mean, here's like a 5-minute quick fire that could have been extinguished with a lid, and you have $80,000 worth of damage to your home. So, it is cooking, and the majority of residential house fires are at dinner time, just for that reason. Most fires happen around cooking and the kitchen. Second would be things like heating appliances and, you know, wood stoves and fireplaces and that kind of stuff. But it's all about cooking, it's all about paying attention in the kitchen, which leads into this, you know, how to prevent falls is another great topic, because there's nothing worse than falling and breaking your hip, right? Because we all know what that means when you're elderly. The hip can be, you know, it can be a very serious thing and very difficult to recover from. So to have a safe home where you can't fall is about, you know, leaving trip hazards in aisles or rugs or stools or magazines stacked on the floor, all that kind of stuff. Just being aware that those things can be dangerous. We have a very good friend of mine who lived, I won't tell you where he lived because that would be a violation of HIPAA. So we're not gonna give you his name. Firefighter, 2-story home, nice cape, okay? And what he, you know, trying to help out all the time, pick stuff up, his wife would pick up magazines, I'll take this upstairs, and go set it on the stairs. So next time I go upstairs, I'll grab this stuff and I'll bring it up. Well, he's upstairs taking a shower, right? Comes out of the shower, heads downstairs,
Couldn't see it.
doesn't see it, right? Steps on a stack of magazines this big, right? Broke his ankle, was laid up for 6 months. Simple trip hazard. So, you know, how you conduct yourself within your own home is as important as how you behave when you're outside of the house, quite honestly. You need to take care of yourselves, and it's, staying safe is tricky business. Truly is.
Yeah,
Yes.
Roger, a terrible trip hazard.
How about Thanksgiving? Does Thanksgiving pose more fires, or like with the turkey, frying the turkeys and?
Statistically, I don't know the answer to that. I would suspect, because we go to Thanksgiving related fires, so that pie that drips over and you know, creates a little fire in the oven, we see a fair number of those. Don't have a lot of frying turkey incidents, although that's become more popular.
How about Christmas and candles, though?
Christmas and candles, yeah, secondary lighting, secondary heat are all problems. And I don't know what to say about candles. Candles are good. Candles are great if you're paying attention, but certainly you don't want them near some other combustible, like a curtain or some fabric, or, you know, forget about them. And even those are much safer today than they were in the past. All products, anything you buy has someone looking at it from a fire perspective.
How about the
because-
stuff coming up from China? All this electrical stuff, is it up to standards in the United States or
Yes,
not?
yes, it is, and it's required to be that way. So a lot of your
How about the
manufacturing,
fakes that come in?
Well, I don't know about that. You shouldn't be buying your handbags at the, at the flea market. It's all I'm-
For you.
it's all I'm
No
telling you.
handbag.
Stick with the brand name that's licensed, yes.
On the oven fires, if you have an oven fire, you don't wanna open the oven door,
Do not open it.
the less air that goes in there.
Well,
It'll probably
remember,
smother.
the oven is designed to handle high heat, let's face it. And if you have a self-cleaning oven, what's that, 550, 650? So it's designed for that, but what a fire needs to burn is oxygen. So when you open the door, you're feeding the fire. We had this discussion this morning at home as we were watching the Today Show, and of course it's Fire Prevention Week, and they do a lot of shows. They're asking families, like, do you have an escape plan?
I saw that,
Okay, and most don't, most families do not have an escape plan. And my wife thought that was incredible that they hadn't planned. I said, let's be serious, Linda, we don't have a plan either. She said, I'm going out the window. I said, you don't even sleep with your bedroom door closed. That's the first requirement, your bedroom door should be closed. Why? Because it's a compartment then, okay? Your house should be divided, that's why you have doors.
we don't have one.
Your house should be divided into compartments, because then you could potentially have a one-room fire versus a many-room fire. Most people sleep with their bedroom doors open, okay? Although when my children were living at home, we closed their bedroom doors, and that was the reason why. Because you know where they are, they're safe in their own room. You could actually get out of the house, you can go to the window and reach in and pull them out. Versus everybody opening their doors and exiting into the hallway, which is not necessarily a good thing. But it's about having a plan, because if you're in your bedroom and you hear the smoke alarm, and you can feel the door, if it's hot, you know not to open it. If it's not hot, you can open it and take a peek, so. Interesting stuff. A lot of science behind everything we do in the fire service and relative to fire prevention. All is driven by what happened. Okay? Everything is because of what happened. And everything gets analyzed and researched, and they figure out a better way. That's why you have less fires today. In the 70s, majority of fires were attributed to toaster ovens. Terrible appliance back in the day. Toasters, dryers, washers, all those things. And when we have a fire, when it's any one of those, we get the model number, we get the serial number, we get the manufacturer, and it's reported to a national database. So that's how they get at what is dangerous and what products are contributing to fire start. Yes?
Another question. My wife is on oxygen at night, and shouldn't we have decals or something in a window or on the door or something indicating that oxygen is in use?
I don't, well, first I'll tell you, I don't know the exact answer to that. It would be nice if everybody identified on their, good to see you, Ron, thanks. It'd be nice if everybody identified on their front door what hazards they had in their home. But oxygen in a cylinder is not any more of a hazard than a 20-pound propane tank sitting in your shed, or 3 of them, or 4 or 5-gallon cans of gasoline, or chlorine from your pool. I mean, all those things that are, hazards, and they're all over the place. Our job is to figure out where they are and make sure they don't become a hazard for us, should we have to be there. But oxygen tank, as a rule, it's contained, and it's only a little bit at a time, probably a nasal cannula. Yeah. So it isn't like you have an oxygen-rich, living room that if something happened, you would have an explosion. Only, you hear occasionally about people in oxygen having a problem, and quite honestly, they tend to be people that even when on oxygen, decide that having a cigarette's still a good idea. That would be something I would advise against, okay, for obvious reasons. But that's where the real hazard is. Otherwise, it's not open. It's not really a problem.
Thank you.
What else? You guys got good questions?
There's another thing on that program you were talking about that hit me, was people going back into the fire and getting the dog.
I don't know what the statistics
And
are.
I know of some people where we are that would do that.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes,
I
I
mean,
You
you're
can take the dog first before them.
Dogs are pretty good at getting out, interestingly enough. Young children aren't, obviously. when I was a child, my neighbor died in a house fire. He was, I believe, 5 or 6. I don't know if the historians in the room remember, but I believe he was 6, because I think I was 9. That seems about right. But out of the house, on the roof, wouldn't jump, too young to jump, went back into the house, and then there was, it's funny, you watch a fire on the news and people jump out of 20-story windows. Yet, you watch that same film the next day and somebody goes back into a burning house. Okay? It's interesting what human behavior will do. But a lot of people re-enter for all the wrong reasons. One is a pet. Our training would suggest not to enter a really dangerous environment for a suspected person in the building. You'd have to have a known person in the building to take those risks, even as a firefighter. But running back into a house, these houses today, back in the day, it would take a typical residential home, 15 to 20 minutes to get really burning, okay? Because it was really just paper and wood. Today, that same fire, in the same space, in a controlled condition, like, on a sofa in a living room, that same fire reaches, high temperatures inside of 3 or 4 minutes.
Well,
Okay, so we used to, it's interesting, we would get a call, we would go to the station, we would get in a truck, we would get there, and you have a fire that was in the early stages of burning. It was easy to extinguish. Today, that same fire, you get there, it's blowing out the windows, because there's so much fuel in the house by way of materials, plastics and stuff like that. Very, very different business today. Never want to be that guy. Mine's in the car.
Kenny and I, we're from the village, right?
Yes.
When that alarm goes off, it's deafening, but I think that's the way it has to be. I mean, you can't miss not hearing that thing.
yeah.
Actually, you can, and people do miss them.
But you're the only guy that can turn that alarm off. Cops can't do it.
Correct. Correct. So we're talking about Nichols Village, and we're up there a fair amount. We're not.
Not like it used to be.
No. You don't want to give people the wrong idea. We're not up there, 3 times a week for food on the stove. No, we're there for probably legitimate calls for the most part, and they are cooking related. And they're typically, a bagel in the toaster oven that somebody forgot about. I mean, that's,
I ran into that.
yeah.
It's more medical than the fire.
It's more medical than anything else is what we're there for mostly. But that's the fire service anyhow. Most of our calls for assistance are medical in nature. I would say 80% of what we do is medical.
You do an excellent job.
Well, thank you, and I appreciate that. It's funny, I kind of started earlier about telling you how we reduced our needs by 1 fire truck. We actually took one of our other trucks that is one of our medical trucks, it's Squad 1, which runs out of this station, which has fire suppression on it, which means it has water, it has a pump, it has hose. We run that 95% or 98% of the time for medical calls. That truck will be replaced next year, and we will replace it with a truck that is designed just for medical. So less equipment, less weight, less size. It will basically be, what we're looking at is something like a pickup truck with a cap on it that has a drawer that you slide out and has all of your equipment on it. So
What do you do if you get in a truck and the battery's dead?
that does not happen. If the battery's dead, we look for the guy that left the radio on. The trucks are all, the trucks are all plugged in,
Oh, they are.
so they're all on charges.
Oh, that's.
Those things are always ready to go. We have a very good preventive maintenance program. We have a contract with an outfit that comes in and does all our preventive maintenance. Things are not, we don't wait for something to go wrong. Everything's tested. In fact, I need to put batteries in a truck that's 4 years old. So 4 or 5 years, full set of batteries.
Curiosity question, your instant responders have breathing apparatus in their trucks like that, what you were talking about, so you usually send out most of the time. So your people were manning it. Because the fumes aren't safe in these places today.
Oh, right, breathing apparatus, self-contained breathing apparatus. So every riding position, so every place you could ride in a truck to get on a call has a,
So that's better help than you going back into a fire or something, and where it's fumes, you might as well wait for 2 minutes.
oh yeah, oh, absolutely, yes. We have a lot of training in that area relative to, you don't wanna breathe any of that stuff.
That's it, so I'm gonna get a better man quickly.
Yes, you don't want to, back in the day, you could breathe that stuff. Back in the day, for those of you who remember, firefighters would, wet a sponge and put it in their mouth, or, put something over their nose, because you didn't even have the heat. Today, it's the heat as much as it is the toxic gases.
Toxic gas.
You couldn't breathe that superheated gas, and if you could, the stuff that's in it will kill you for sure. And it's all about that, and that's why, standing up, when you stand up in a room that's on fire, you find it's pretty hot anyhow. So getting to the floor has two benefits. One, it's cooler. Two, the gases that are dangerous aren't as present on the floor as they are up high. Mr. Reed?
Most of the homes today have so much plastic in them, that's poisonous, isn't it, the fumes
Correct.
from the plastic?
That's the primary hazard. It's
I
the
tell people
fuel
in the
load.
old days, you see people went into a smoke-filled home and run back out.
Yeah.
Now you run in, you don't run back out.
That's right. No, very dangerous. So, I guess in summary, relative to that, is you should have a plan, and your plan ought to be to get out, and not be, as sad as it is, not be looking for things, okay? I did hear something the other night, and this has got nothing to do with fire, but it's something I don't often think about, a home invasion. Anybody see that story? You know what the number one recommended item to have on your nightstand is, from that perspective?
Pepper spray.
Can of hornet spray.
Anybody else?
A bazooka.
Your keys to your car. Your keys to your car. Why? You can pick it up and hit the panic button and set the alarm off in your car. Now, while your neighbors would say, man, again? That guy? What it will do to the person in the house is it'll get them to leave. It's a pretty good story. So if you leave your clicker to your car on your nightstand, that can help you in a lot of ways. It can help you were having a problem and there was nobody else to help. You couldn't get to the phone. It could be a fire. It could be a home invasion. Not that we have a lot of home invasion in Groveland, but heck, it can happen. I never thought of that myself. So.
Ed's in trouble, he doesn't have any cars that has those remotes.
That's right, I got on my
Anybody entering Mr. Reed's house during the night is looking for trouble anyhow.
They won't be walking out.
You see that? I suspected that was the case.
I said many times, don't feel bad, leave my wallet on the kitchen table, some druggie with smoke spray, let him see on my wall with a few bucks in it and be gone.
Hopefully.
Yeah, that's hopefully.
Unless that's the appetizer.
Yeah, if he gets enough by himself, a good shot, he'll probably take it and leave.
Yeah.
So I used to feel bad leaving my wallet, I used to think I was crazy, but I don't, now I don't care if I leave it in the day.
I don't carry a wallet. So
I
it's a good way to save money by not carrying a wallet. So, see, we're at that point in the program where Lynn is giving me the "I'll stand up and look at him" sign, okay? Which means she probably has closing remarks, but I will tell you, for me, this was
We
very
enjoyed it,
nice.
Bob.
Yeah,
You
no,
learned
thank you.
something.
You guys are a great group.
Excuse me, that gentleman was Frank Garrison.
Okay,
He lives on Uptack Road. I can give you his number, his extension if you want it.
okay.
The reason I'm saying this is this number and the extension is his office at the farm.
Okay.
And what it is they like community-based
yeah.
projects.
And folks, just to let you know, on Tuesday, October 28th, over at the fire station, we're going to be having a program on winter electrical safety. So that'll be a way, again, to keep yourself safe. You know, items that can cause fires immediately. So that's going to be on Tuesday, over at the fire station, October 28th. Doug?
Lynn, there's something that you didn't mention, the police dinner.
Oh, For Groveland residents, I'm sorry, good point.
That's
For
fine.
Groveland residents,
Yep.
excuse me, on Thursday, October 16th,
Okay.
the Groveland Police
Yep.
Association will be holding their annual, excuse me, their annual harvest dinner. Call the Council on Aging, we'll set you up with reservations, and you'll be able to enjoy a free dinner courtesy of our good men in blue.
Thank you.
Thank you.